Good morning. Welcome, Salamat Datang, Om Swastiastu, and welcome to Green School Bali's Virtual Open Day. Wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is, welcome, and we hope you are safe and well. So today, this morning, we are excited to share with you lots about Green School Bali, and if you are thinking about joining us here in Bali, over the next 90 minutes or so, we'll be sharing more about our learning program, our amazing learning environment and our learning community. You'll also be meeting some of our heads of school, some of our teachers. So let me just share more about what's going to happen over the next 90 minutes or so. My name's Leanne. I'm the Director of Communications here at Green School Bali. And first of all, what's going to happen is I will introduce you to Sal Gordon, our Head of Teaching and Learning, and Kate Druhan, our Head of Community and Environment, who'll be sharing more about the school. Then we will be sharing with you some content, some pre-recorded videos, including some projects, some student projects, more about our curriculum, our Green School Way, and you will also get the chance to hear from some of our parents here at Green School. Then later, we will have a live chat, a live Q&A with you. So please feel free as we move along the next 90 minutes, please put any of your questions in the chat box below, and I'll be here to take your questions and we will be answering them at the end of the session as well. And then also later we're excited to share our head of primary school and our new head of high school will be here. So without further ado, let's get to the program, let's get to the session started. Let me introduce, as I mentioned, Sal Gordon, our head of teaching and learning, who's here, and Kate Druhan, our head of community and environment. Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah. Hi everyone, how are you? It's a pleasure to be here today. I might just take a seat.
Thank you. Please sit down.
Hey. Thanks so much, Leanne. Beautiful introduction. Hi, Sal.
Sort of done the limbo to get into this chair.
How are you this morning?
Yeah, I'm really good. Really excited to be here. Always exciting to welcome new people into the community and to share some of the Green School magic that happens here.
Yeah, it's a beautiful morning here in Bali.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And we've got one of our we're running a blended learning program at the moment, so that means that there's a lot of on-site learning, but on a Wednesday, all of our students are home-based learning, doing projects, things like that. So it's a lovely, quiet campus at the moment.
So we might give our guests a little bit of an update on what things are looking like at the school right now. But as Leanne said, this session is really for you. So we're really encouraging everybody that's joined us here today to ask questions. So if you know how to use the chat function, and I think most people do at this stage, please do put your questions in there. We would love to gather them all up. And Leanne and the team will collect all of those and pass them on to us. So when we get to the live Q&A piece, we'll be able to answer some of those directly. So I think, Sal, just to recap, we've put together what we think is going to be a really nice program for you today, to have a few sneak peeks into the school with a tour and a word from parents, new parents that have arrived here within the last 12 months, and also a piece that gives you some information about travel and visas, because we know that's a big deal in the world at the moment. And we're really looking forward to being joined by Harriet and Thabo in the live Q&A session, and they represent the upper school and the lower school here in Bali. So it's going to be great to have them as part of the conversation. But Sal, why don't you kick us off as our principal and give us a little bit of an insight into how this year has been for Green School Bali and what we're expecting next year to look like.
Well, it's been a bit of a crazy little while since COVID came upon us. We've been really fortunate this year to have on-site learning and bring a blended learning program. Schools across Indonesia have been closed for nearly 15 months now, but for the last 12 months in this school year, our students have come to campus. We've been able to access a different licence to allow that, and they've been able to come and do a lot of on-site learning. Our lower school, up to middle school, actually do 4 days on-site and 1 day of home-based learning, and our high school are at 3 days on-site and with 2 days home-based. We're really excited, of course, to finish off such an amazing year with our capstones and our graduation events, but we're really also probably a little bit even more excited about next year and what that looks for us. We're pretty certain that the Indonesian schools will be able to open, and we'll be able to open our campus officially, and learning will go back to, the learning programs will go back to looking a little bit more like what they used to in the past. You know, there's a lot of the program here that's about walllessness, and we're not just talking about our classrooms not having walls, but breaking the age cage, having students interact across different learning neighbourhoods, so different parts of the school, middle school students to learn with high school students and things like that. But, you know, there's with a lot of excitement in terms of the teams that we've assembled for next year, but also the learning programs in terms of the real learning that we provide here, experiential learning, project-based learning. 2021-22 is going to be an awesome year, and so if you're thinking about coming over, it's a good time to come.
Yeah, and I think in this sort of phase of moving through and out of the COVID situation and some of the ways that has impacted us over the past 12 months or so, you know, looking to next year and looking to some growth for the school and the year after as well, because I'm sure some of the folks that are joining us today are probably thinking a little further down the track too. So looking to 2022-23, which will be here before we know it as well.
Yeah, I think the last 12 months has provided us an opportunity to reflectively look back at our programs and look back at what is really special about Green School. You know, you never miss your water till your well runs dry, and we've definitely missed some of the amazing things that we've been able to do, and it's with a lot of excitement that we move back to a learning program that's more similar to what we've had in the past. Probably better.
Yeah, we've learned some things
you know,
along the way.
It's been a challenging time, and I suppose it's challenging for everyone, no matter where you are around the world. But I think in those challenges we've seen opportunities to learn and to grow, and like I keep saying, next year, 2021-22, we're really excited about that, the opportunity to grow from that learning over the past 12 months.
Yeah, it's been an interesting 12 months just for education generally, and the sort of spotlight that's been on education through all of these impacts and the requirement for so many millions and millions of children across the world home learning. And no doubt all of you on the call today, you know, have been impacted in different ways. And Sal, I just want to give a shout out. I don't know, because we can't see the screen closely enough, but if there are children who have joined the call today, often there are for our virtual open days, and so we want to say a special hello to the children, to the kids out there.
It's all about the students. Yeah,
it's all about the students, all about the children. So we invite the children too, if they have questions. We love to get questions from the children. So if you have questions, you know, we would love to hear those as well, and we'd definitely honour those and get you the answers.
Yeah. Pretty cool place, you know. We can't wait to show you around a little bit, and always looking forward to the hot seat question and answer at the end.
Yeah, we do love that.
I think it's just worth, you know, if we've got a little bit of time, you know, the world's been sort of stuck in a crazy place over the past 12 months, and education itself, I think we've been able to look at education as parents and as educators. No doubt a lot of people on the call today have seen education and the learning experiences that the children have at school, and have had a much more detailed view of what that looks like. And I think most people would realise that education systems have been stuck in a time capsule where the rest of the world has changed so much. That's not how it is at Green School Bali. Our learning is relevant to the now. It's not just learning something that you possibly could use in the future. We want our learning to be impactful. We want it to be relationship-based and experiential, but also with a local to global thing. So, you know, the learning program here at Green School has been, like all learning programs, under the microscope in a way over the past 12 months. And I think we've passed with flying colours in terms of being a place that educates for skills and values, a place that collectively, as a community, we want to be a community that is moving towards a sustainable future. And I think learning and schools need to be places that make an impact on their students and their communities now, and that's what Green School Bali is.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that sense of community that we have here in Bali was just really held us through actually a difficult time, but just reinforced how important that piece of the experience is for all of us.
Yeah, so you're coming to Green School, and I suppose your kids could be really excited about joining a new school, but it's also important, like, families join this community. You know, it's not just a place where you drop your kids off at the gate in the morning and pick them up in the afternoon. We are a community of learners. And so all of us, myself, the teachers, the parents, all the students, we're all learning together and making a difference to the world together.
Yeah, nice. Very nice, Sal. I think that's a beautiful note to now introduce the next segment. So a virtual open day is not quite the same as a real open day where you could be here with us and taking a tour of the campus, which is one of our favourite things to do, is to lead people across this amazing environment and to show it in action as a whole classroom in many ways, the entire campus, and a laboratory in many ways as well. So not quite the real thing, but we have put a lot of work into putting together for you a little tour of the campus, and as I mentioned, some information for you on visas and travel, because we know that's obviously a big question and a complex matter, or it has been. So we want to share some insights on that with you, and then we would love to share with you just a little conversation with a parent, so new parents, and we've had many, many new families join us across this year and coming in for August and then September 2022 as well. So we always think it's nice for parents to hear from some other parents. It's an important piece. Yeah.
Let's do this.
So stay with us. Welcome once again. Thanks so much for joining us. Stick with us as we take you through the tour pieces and these pre-recorded pieces, and then Sal and I are going to be right here to join you at the end of that for the live Q&A. So keep the questions coming, and we'll also be bringing in Harriet and Thabo as well, two of our amazing educators from Green School Bali.
Cool.
That's it.
We'll see you soon.
So we'll see you back here.
See you live soon.
Very soon.
Hi. I've made my way to the third floor of the heart of school. The heart of school is our middle school learning neighbourhood. I'm in a typical bamboo green school classroom, because you can see there is no walls. All of our classrooms are surrounded by gardens which our students play and learn in. We also have an amazing, beautiful river that's running really loud just down the hill, our solar farms, the iHub, the music centres, art centres, everything here is amazing and provides probably that structural, that physical campus that we know that at Green School Bali helps us bring a learning program to life. Our students are provided the opportunities to not just learn about nature, but learn in nature. We have 4 learning neighbourhoods. Our youngest learners, the early years, up to kindergarten. Primary school, from grades 1 to 5. Middle school, grades 6, 7 and 8. And high school, grades 9 to 12. At Green School, our learning is for now, not for later. It needs to be fun, but it needs to be meaningful, and that looks different in each learning neighbourhood. Our early years program is nature and play-based. Yes, students start to develop literacy and numeracy skills, but it's more important for our youngest learners to develop a connection with nature and a connection with their peers and a connection with their learning. In primary school, our students begin to learn who they are. They discover themselves, and our learning program allows that to happen. It makes that happen. The big projects, little projects, projects in the garden, also strong thematics program connected to nature and sustainability. In middle school learning can become a little bit messy. Our middle school program is set up to allow students to elect certain parts of their learning program. So they have strong literacy and maths classes. They also have an amazing thematics program based on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Our grade 8 students at the end of middle school do a capstone project which is based on their own sustainability passion project. In high school, our students are ready to make an impact in the world. Our program allows students to develop the life skills required and the mindsets needed to take action and to use their learning. High school students do a lot of projects. Their culminating project, their Greenstone, is an amazing year-long learning journey where students choose a sustainability-based project and bring that project to life. We are a community of learners. It's not just a school community, it's about our local community too. We're not just an international school in an international bubble. We are deeply connected to our local community. I'm lucky to have with me today Ibu, how are you?
I'm good, thank you Pak Sal.
Ibu
Selamat
Dawi.
pagi.
Selamat pagi. Ibu Dawi is a parent. Ibu Dawi has been on our board, and Ibu Dawi is an amazing, important member of our school administration team. Are you good today, Ibu?
Yeah, feeling very good.
Talk to us, talk to us about the types of connections that we have with the culture of Bali at Green School Bali.
I feel so grateful becoming a part of this community because the local community here is really engaged and involved with the international community, and this is, I believe, that would be very important for our international community because we can bring everything together, like we connect. If we have something in our local community, we always have a chance to bring that together within our community. And for example, if we have like every 6-month celebration here for honoring Goddess of Knowledge, that's called Saraswati. So we're inviting all the community to come. We have dance, we have gamelan that every parent and their family can have it here together. So it's amazing.
So we learn and we share and we celebrate together.
That's what we're doing
here. As a global
here.
community.
As a global community. And other thing is also really, really interesting for me, so that this is becoming like the biggest reason for me as a parent to send my kids here at Green School. Yes.
Tell us why.
So,
what's it about Green School for a local student?
As a Balinese community, we are like once again saying like this is a great opportunity that we have a chance to learn international education with that kind of standard that they can improve themselves. I mean, our local children here, but at the same time, we have a chance to bring our culture also with them. But we learn a lot also from our international community, because this is like making a balance.
The learning is definitely two ways.
Yes, yeah. And we have a program, if there is no COVID, we have like an after school activities, we have a dance activities, we have a gamelan activities.
So there's 37 local scholars at the school at the moment.
Yes, at the moment.
Yeah.
And
but we also, like you said, when we're allowed to fully open the campus, we invite more than 300 other local students to learn numeracy, literacy, English skills, but also sustainability education.
Of course. Too. And other thing that is very interesting is also because we also still learn kelas budaya. Yes, budaya class and bahasa Indonesia. So we bring that together in thematic, and then even like they put it in thematic and making like a such ogoh-ogoh. Maybe you know that kind of parade that's very famous here in Bali. Yeah, before Nyepi Day.
The big monsters.
Yes, the big monster. But a lot of things is inside there, like the local wisdom is in there. Yes.
That's beautiful. Thanks very much.
This is one of my favorite places on the campus. We're right down here by the river. Behind me is the Ayung, the Great Ayung River, and it powers right through our campus. It's a force of nature. It's also a source of energy. Right here down at the river, we have our very own micro hydro system, the Green School Vortex. And this Vortex provides a majority of the power that we use here on the campus, and it forms part of Operation Rain or Shine. So along with our other renewable energy systems, we try and offer a range of different learning opportunities for our children to see all the different ways Mother Nature can help power our campus, our community, and the world. Clean, renewable, and reliable energy. I'm here on the top floor of the heart of school, and this is home base for our middle schoolers. And you can see behind me here some of our renewable energy technologies. We really love the idea at Green School that the whole campus is a classroom, the whole campus is a laboratory, and that we can innovate and we can find solutions to real problems right here on the campus. This solar system here is part of Operation Rain or Shine, which was a high school-led initiative that's ongoing, looking at understanding and implementing different types of clean, reliable, renewable energy right here on our campus. Everyone in our community has a part to play in making our world sustainable, starting right here on the campus. We have in our main car park our waste recycling centre, so all families can bring their recyclables there, sorted, to be responsibly moved on to recyclers on the island. But the very best of that trash we keep right here on the campus, because this is a resource for learning. So in this area here in our Community Innovation Hub is Kambali. And in Kambali we have resources here that can be used. So some of these products can be used raw for projects here on the campus that the students are involved in. But we also have some really cool equipment in here.
So we can take certain types of plastics and they can be processed into filament like this that can be further processed into a form that we can put into molds. So you can literally bring in some plastic trash and leave with a plate or a fork or a bowl or something useful. We've even had kids make recycled surfboard fins, which are really expensive here. So very cool product, limited only to the imagination. Here we are at the Human Resources Centre, otherwise known as the toilets. This is one example of our composting toilet system that we have at Green School. Composting toilets don't need to be nasty. We have a fantastic odourless, waterless, chemical-free system that takes human waste and turns it into organic matter that can go back into the earth in a really safe way. These toilets are really beautiful. Our parents helped design these structures. So they're super friendly, they're actually a work of art and really inviting even for the tiniest of people. That's our take on composting toilets at Green School. Just pulling up in the garage, friends. We ride in style and sustainably at Green School. Our Biobus transport service normally operates 5 days a week, taking our children to school and back home again in the afternoons. Our Biobuses run on used cooking oil, which the students are involved in collecting from hotels and restaurants around Bali. So it helps them dispose of used cooking oil in a responsible way, and it powers our buses. I'm not actually allowed to drive the Biobus, but I am allowed to use this. So for any families who don't ride the Biobus and have a diesel vehicle, they can fill their car up right here on the campus at the biodiesel pump station. As well as the biodiesel bus service and the pump station in the car park to fill up your diesel vehicle, we also have electric charge stations here on the campus. So electric motorbikes are a growing option for transport around Bali, and you can plug in right here. We're entering primary school, and in primary school every class has their own set of gardens that they work with. In the upper school the students work with more cooperative gardens and working with permaculture principles to grow things that are beautiful but also that are edible and medicinal. And right here in primary at a grade 1 classroom, we can see in the garden here we've got corn, we've got papaya, we've got bananas, we've got flowers bringing the bees and the butterflies, and of course always so quintessentially Bali, the lemongrass. Our campus is wild. It's intentionally rugged. We design it this way. This is great for kids, gross motor skills, but also their cognitive development. So everything is designed by intention, but we work with what is already here. On my left here, you can see these beautiful springs. This is where we hold special ceremonies during the year. It's quite a sacred place on the campus. It's really calm and very peaceful. On my right, in contrast, this pit of mud comes to life because this is the Green School mud pit. It's a really popular place on the campus. So yes, our children get in here. It's like baby elephants on a hot day, cooling down in the mud and the water. Also, while I'm here, over there is Grasshopper Grove. This was named by our early years students because this is a great place to go if you want to find grasshoppers, dragonflies and butterflies. No two buildings on the Green School campus are the same. Every single one of them is unique. Every single one of them is also a work of art. We're here in the Green School Yoga Studio. This beautiful space comes to life when the children come in here for yoga sessions. Nothing is more beautiful than stopping in here and watching the 3-year-olds take yoga. It is pure joy. It's a beautiful space. I can hear the river behind me here. There's a gentle breeze coming through here. It's a very, very serene and special place on our campus. When we think about well-being at Green School, we think about the whole person, the social, the emotional, and of course the physical, and not just the individual child or the individual community member, but the whole community. This behind me is the Ark. This is our community centre and our sports centre. So what goes on in here? This is a place that we gather that holds us for recreation, for presentations and for celebrations. This is the Ark. I'm here at the Bridge and this is Green School for Grown-Ups. Talks, courses, workshops, socialising, outings in Bali all come through the Bridge. Right behind me here is our parent co-working space, but it's really much more than that. It's co-working, it's co-learning, it's co-creating, communicating, connecting and building friendships. We really love the idea that Green School is not just for the children, it is for the grown-ups too. So being a community is very much an important piece of the Green School experience, right from the very beginning of the school, right through to today, even in the current situation. And I'm really happy to be here this morning in the Bridge, which is the Green School co-working space, with my friend Sanjana, who is a new parent to Green School. Just joined us this school year and super nice to have a little chat with you, Sanjana.
Thrilled to be here and so happy to finally be a part of the Bridge and the Green School community.
Great. So we have had to be really creative around how we build and maintain and nurture our sense of community during this time over the past 12 months in particular. So a lot of the things we ordinarily do to help parents get involved with the school and feel connected, we've had to find creative ways around to still hold that space and hold that sense. It's really valuable to us. So in coming here as a new parent and connecting with the community, the parent community first and foremost, you know, that's something we always hope and wish our parents experience when they're new here. And what's your experience been of that?
You know, before we actually moved to Green School to Bali, we came in to spend a couple of days to see how the community works last year. And I have to say that for 1 year, we've been talking about not our son joining the school, but us as a family getting involved with Green School. Now that I'm finally here, everything that we talked about for the last year is actually coming true. In its own way, in its own different way, but I don't think it's less than anything else that would have gone place. So yeah, thrilled to be here, and I can't imagine how much more active the community would be if we didn't have this pandemic situation to deal with.
Yeah, well, that's great, and it's reassuring to hear that. You know, that's what we hope for our families, that they do feel connected and do feel part of a community and a movement, really. And we don't just hope for it, I guess. We try our best to sort of nurture that and nourish that in many different ways. Right here on the campus, we are opening up some parent programs, some outings for parents in Bali, called Truly Bali, to help our parents that have come from abroad to really connect more deeply with Bali and the experience there, as well as some events virtually and in person that we're running around really our parents sharing with other parents, right, their know-how, their story, their background, their skills and so on. And then taking that further to then connect our parents to our students. So one of the things we do is try and facilitate mentorships from our parent community to particularly our grade 12 students, but also our grade 8 students on their capstone projects. And right, that is just beautiful to watch that happen. And I think it's all part of the idea of walllessness, that walllessness is not just the physical way we arrange our campus and build our classrooms, but also the way we think about ourselves as a community, that it's not teachers in one group and students and parents are over here and that there's some sort of separation, but how can we find ways that work for everyone to create those connections?
You know, that circle of trust, essentially what you're describing, is very obvious. It's there from the time I dropped my son off to the time I'm dealing with Bali and living in Bali, because I am new here, you know, so I do have to deal with, I'm going to say this, bats and geckos and everything else, you know, it's part of the experience. But it's not difficult. It's not been difficult at all because of that circle of trust. You know, I can reach out to anybody and have a chat with them about what's the best way to do this. You know, how do I react to this, and what do I need to do to think about this particular thing? So that circle of trust, it's very much alive, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so glad that we made this decision to come.
You know, Sanjana, we always encourage new parents to tap into the kind of the great font of wisdom that is our collective parent body, you know, in all things sort of living in Bali. You talked about the bats and the geckos and all of those things, and you know, the biggest sort of community of parents are really a hive of information and knowledge. Is that something you've been tapping into?
All the time. You know, there's no question that's ridiculous to ask within that circle of trust. I can ask people where I can get the best mozzarella, to what do I need to do with bats, you know, what do I need to do with bug sprays, and every aspect of life that I can think about, whether it's medical to whether it's more superficial, I want my comfort food, what do I need to do to get that? It's all addressed, you know, and there are people there who have answers. 11 in the night, you ask a question, 2 minutes later you get an answer. You know, it's phenomenal. I can't believe that there is this circle of trust, and there's so much conversation that's happening. I think for me, apart from that fount of wisdom that you talked about, is the openness. There is no question that's ridiculous to ask, and I feel that. You know, I don't feel hesitant. I don't feel nervous about asking anything really to that, you know, within that circle. So that's amazing as well.
You know, but I'm here every day, and you sometimes forget how incredibly beautiful and original this campus is. And I'd love to ask you about your first impressions, the first time you physically set foot on the campus here.
You know, it was an incredible experience, but more than talking about my own experience and my husband's experience, because we had been exposed to the videos on YouTube, you know, we'd seen the TED Talks, we'd seen the website. I'd love to talk about how my son reacted to it. I have a 5-year-old, and we spent a day here at Green School. And at some point, 3 hours into spending that day, he turned around and he said, "Okay, but where's school?" And I said, "We are in school." He said, "No, but where's school? You know, the place where I'm supposed to study." And, you know, it took us 10 minutes to explain to him that this was his school, that he was going to be studying with cows and chickens and, you know, the vortex and the river and the bridge. That was his school. You know, that idea for me to explain to him that school can be as beautiful, as different from his imagination. He's only 5, you know, and yet that question was so strong, and that impression that it made on him was so vivid.
I love that. Out of the mouths of babes. Yeah. But where is school? He was looking for the box.
He was looking for the classroom.
Yes.
He was looking for the box. He
Yes.
was looking for the place where he could go in.
Yeah.
You know, the idea that there would be a teacher with a blackboard, there would be little desks, even, you know, little desks, because he's tiny.
Yeah.
But he was looking for that, and he just couldn't find that. And so he thought we were tricking him into saying yes, because we wanted him to agree to the decision as well. So he kept saying, "But where is school? You know, like, you're bringing me here to go to school. Where is school?" So that sort of, I think, clinched the decision for us as a family, that we wanted him to rethink what school could be. It was so important for us.
I love that. And how about settling into school? How's that process been for him?
Day 1, he didn't want to go in. Day 2, he didn't want to go in. Day 3, he complained because it was online school. He wanted to go back to campus. Day 4 onwards, I haven't heard, you know, a single complaint. He's up at 6 a.m., which is, you know, phenomenal for me. Getting ready to go to school and play with his friends. I think I have to say this, and I'm so grateful for all the teachers and, you know, for this community for keeping the school open. We spent 1 year last year not having this kind of interaction for him, and I know how much goes into that. So, thank you.
Well, that's what we're here for. That's what we do, and the energy, the colour, the movement, the sounds of having the children on site for learning is a beautiful thing, and we feel incredibly privileged to have him here, and incredibly grateful to all our families too, particularly our new families that have moved across the planet to be part of it. So it's fantastic talking with you this morning, Sanjana.
Thank you. It's anything I could do to talk about this. I'm thrilled to be here.
Should we go and have a cup of coffee?
Sure, absolutely.
Hi, my name is Fabrice. I'm a Green School parent, and my wife and I have one daughter basically at Green School, and she's attending grade 11. I've been here for 12 years, so I've known, and I do know very well, the ins and outs of traveling to Bali, living in Bali, and I'm happy to come here and share some tips with you. And next to that, I do also have a travel business, that is basically helping and assisting people travel, especially through these troubled times. So to come to Indonesia, indeed, you do need a visa, and there's different types of visas. What is very important is that this is a very fluid situation, and that means that between now and when you plan to come in August or later in the year, many things might change, regulations might change. So it's very important that you stay in very close contact with school, so that we can give you the most up-to-date information. Some families have a lot of experience already traveling around the world and sometimes resettling already, being expats, knowing the expat life. And others, it's your first time packing up your stuff and relocating on the other side of the world. And it's a huge decision. But always remember, especially with Green School, you're never alone. You never stand alone. You have a whole community around you. I personally, this is one of the reasons why I'm at Green School. It's this community life all around us, being as one, and that's just the beauty of the thing. Especially, and we've experienced that even more through this COVID time. So what I would recommend is, if you are still where you are and you're making your plans and you're trying to figure out how and what, make use of that community. And that means make sure that if you're a Facebook user, that you use the Green School New Families page, that you join the Green School New Generation page. There's a housing page, there's a travel page. We've got WhatsApp groups for communities and for the community living here. So there's so many resources, and you'll see the moment you ask one question, you are going to have 100 answers to your question. So make use of it. We're here for you, and we look forward to welcoming you.
Sal, while our guests have been watching the videos and enjoying the tour, we've expanded the team here.
No, it's really exciting to have some friends here.
Yeah, we can really get the conversation going. So please put your questions in the chat. Thank you so much for the people that have already. And while you're thinking about your questions, let's introduce our friends. Sal, do you want to do the introduction?
So on the far left, we have Ibu Harriet. Harriet is new head of high school for next year. She's been at Green School for 6 years. Yeah, and knows everything about high school, and we're really excited about the team that she's put together in the program. And Thabo, sitting next to her, is the head of primary. Thabo's been here for a while, 6 or 7 years too. Yeah, Thabo has been in primary, has taught classes in primary, run primary for a couple of years now, and he's definitely the man to talk to in terms of getting the good bits from what happens in the primary. Yeah, it's really exciting. You know, the people come here. You've seen the campus now, and you've had a little walk around, and you've seen an amazing jungle, the gardens, the buildings, but people sort of maybe first think about Green School in terms of this amazing learning space and the environment, but they definitely stay because of the learning programs and the teachers and the people that make the magic happen in the classroom. So we're really lucky and really excited to welcome our heads of primary and high school. So throw the questions in the chat. Specifically, you know, you're very lucky today. You've got the people that manage and that bring teams and learning programs to life for high school and for primary here.
And so we're actually organised into 4 learning neighbourhoods at Green School. Yeah. So we have high school, we have primary, but also in the middle we have middle school, which you know and love so well.
Yeah, I know a lot about middle school. I worked in middle school for five years.
Yep.
And early years, which we probably all know a fair bit about early years as well. Yeah, so rather than having schools within schools, we have learning neighbourhoods, and they have their own neighbourhood on campus as well. But it's another unique part of Green School Bali.
Okay, well, let's get on with the questions, because we have a few coming through here now. And Thabo, I think the first one is primarily for you, which is a big question in many ways. So see how you go with this. What does a typical day look like in primary school? And that question's from Kim. So hi Kim, thank you for the question.
Cool. All right, thanks Kim. It's a great question. It's a question that lots of new families ask. I'm going to tell you the truth, and the answer to that question is that there is not a typical day in primary school. I don't think there's a typical day in any of our learning neighbourhoods at Green School. Our days are very full, they're very busy. There's lots of different experiences that children are part of. But through a week, children will obviously be part of proficiency lessons, literacy, maths, Bahasa Indonesia, things like that. but they'll also visit the art room and maybe take part in making a weaving with coconut leaves learning from one of our Balinese experts and teachers here. They might be down in our jungle sports area doing a jungle run around the campus or a fitness class in the mud pit, things like that. They might be in the gardens with a gardening teacher or a green studies teacher, finding out about the insects and the creatures who share our campus here with us. And all of those things happen all day and every day here, along with being in the classrooms for the classroom-based lessons where the children are developing their literacy skills, their math skills, and all of those essentials that really are kind of at the core of a primary school program, and that we want to hold on to alongside all of those other amazing experiences.
So Thabo, can you just expand on that a little bit? So when a child walks in the morning, what's the sort of first contact or first experience, and how does the day sort of roll out in a nutshell?
That's a really good question, Kate, and a really good way of expanding it, because although there isn't a typical day, there is a typical pattern to a day. So students will come in, they'll be greeted by their teachers in the primary school, who we're very fortunate to have 3 teachers in each of our primary school classrooms. Those children will greet those teachers, they'll be welcomed into their space. They might have some free choice or some exploration time in the morning while they settle in and become comfortable in the day. Typically in the morning time, when the students are freshest and are kind of really eager and excited, is where they might do the most directed learning and focus on those skills. Through the day, they'll have a couple of different playtime sessions where they'll go out and explore around the campus, either for free play or directed play times. And most of the days in the primary school, students will have a specialist experience as well, which often happens later in the day, but links in with the learning that's happening in the classroom as well. That brings us to the end of the day, where the students with their teachers go and meet the families for a goodbye and a pickup, where teachers can connect with parents and just give a very brief wrap up of the day and connect with families before the children go home and hopefully get excited about what's going to come tomorrow.
So there are some beautiful rituals that happen in the primary too, which I know we probably don't have time to go into all of those today, but things like the weekly assemblies and the Footprints capstone event, which is coming up on Friday, where all our grade 5 students are showcasing their sort of individual passion projects that they've been working on. So
and alongside those, things like full moon ceremonies, which happen regularly in the primary school, where children make the offerings for the ceremonies and go and take part in the ceremonies with the Indonesian and Balinese teachers, and Footprints events, things like that are really, really, just beautiful moments in the primary school.
Yeah, so much. It's a big day in primary school.
And a lot of those things, Kate, I know Harriet's from the high school. We don't have anybody from early years here. A lot of those things actually happen very similarly in early years, which is a program that has all of those different experiences as well, but where the children really learn in a really immersive play-based style, getting out and around in their beautiful early years learning neighbourhood, and getting to explore what's around them that we have and that you've just seen on the tour around the campus.
Yeah, the early years it's one of our favourite places to visit, isn't it? Doesn't matter what your day's like. If you pop in there, it's you're going to feel uplifted. It's very joyful.
It's a full day, and as parents, and we're all parents too, so it's a full day, and it's really difficult as a parent to match that when school holidays start.
We do have the green camp.
Yeah, but it's also the other challenge I had with it being such a full day was keeping my kids awake in the car on the way home, because knowing that if they fell asleep, it'd be harder to get them to sleep later. But it's a full, amazing day of learning.
Okay, well, let's move to the next question, which is quite a quick one to answer, I think, which is how many children per class? And so I think this obviously varies a little bit across the school, but how many teachers are in a class might be
It's normally
helpful
15 to 20. It depends on the age group, but normally a class or a grade size would be around maximum 20. As Thabo said, in the primary and in the early years, our lower school we have a higher teacher to student ratio because they're younger learners and we need to look after them. In some high school and middle school classes, there could be 20, 22 kids in a class, students in a class, but then they also have a significant portion of the program that's elective, and so they may elect into classes that have smaller groups of students in them as well. But definitely not a school system where there's 30 kids in a classroom with a teacher. We're really lucky to be able to provide an amazing teacher-student ratio across the school.
Well, Harriet might want to add to that, but I know also, like, a smaller class is not necessarily better either. So there's a good size in there in terms of the social mix and things that become very important as children get older.
Definitely, I think as Sarah was saying, because we have electives that sometimes that will be based around 12 to 15 students, but in their grade it might be 20, 25. But really in high school the learning isn't very grade based, so they'll be moving on the classes that they choose to have those smaller numbers in those moments. But also there's some bigger projects that they might work on where a number of classes work towards it. So they might all be working on the same project but on different areas of it. So that number would be bigger but in different classes.
Okay, great. We've got some great questions coming in, so we'll move it along. So I have a question here from Maria, and thank you, Leanne has put this in really large text, so I don't even need to put my glasses on. So thoughtful.
Could be a little bit bigger so I can have a look before
Well, I think this one, I might have a go at this one. So the question is, what platform does the Green School use for parents to connect? How can new parents connect with the Green School parents? So let's start with new parents. So families that apply to Green School and have their application approved are really brought into the community in a lot of different ways. So Leanne and the admissions team help organise events for our incoming parents to connect with each other and connect with us and connect with current existing families that are in the school as well. So we understand for many families, particularly if they're moving from abroad, that's a big decision and a big move often for the family. So we want to do our best to support and help people feel like they're part of the community before they even arrive. And we have a few different platforms, including our new family Facebook group, which applicant families can jump on there and they can ask questions. We don't open up other platforms to applicant families just because we have so many applicant families, and we also want to make sure that we're in close communication and have a more intimate space for the families that are enrolled with us now and part of the community now. So bit of a balancing act there, but definitely we want to support new incoming families to connect with each other and to connect with us a long time before they actually start. And once they're in the school, of course, there are many different ways that we connect. Our mission statement is to be a community of learners making our world sustainable, so being connected to each other is really important, and that's where this sense of wellnessness comes in. So engaging parents in conversations so they can understand what we're doing in the why and the what we're doing within the school and with their child's learning, making the learning as visible as we can to parents, but also making space for parents to get involved in things that they're interested in and add value to our school as well. So we sort of have a whole program that is really Green School for Grown-Ups, as we call it. So learning and co-working and co-creating. I've just this year, I've had some parents have come in, they've helped us build a bamboo structure. We have another group of parents that are helping to design now a climbing wall for the students, which is just going to be amazing. And we have community events through the year as well. It's looked a little bit different this year, but we're hoping to bring some of those back next year.
Good summary.
Good summary.
Yeah.
It's one thing we're really good at. We really like connecting with our parents and being involved, having them involved in the school. Having said that, not everything is up for negotiation at Green School, and not every idea can be accommodated either. So it's really about working together in that kind of respectful way. Yeah.
Also, just to add in about the mentorship roles with our capstones. So grade 5, grade 8 and grade 12 all complete a capstone project. And through our parent community, often they support students with their expertise. So that's something that we ask as well, is what's the parents' expertise, their passions, their professions, and how can that help mentor our students as well in their pathways. So that's an important piece as well.
It's fabulous. No, my children have benefited so much from that, my older two. So I'm going to jump to another question from Maria, because I think this might be from her children. Is it Robert and John? I'm not sure. Hi, you guys. This is a really good question. What is lunch like for middle school and high school? That's a top question. I really like
You should
that
answer the lunch questions, Kate.
You know, it's always a hot issue, no matter what school you're in, and we are no different at Green School Bali. But we have some principles that we try and live by and we try and eat by, frankly. So we have a lunch service. Ordinarily, we have vendors on campus too, which we think will be opening next school year at some point, not exactly sure when. Or children can bring lunch from home. But we love to know where our food comes from. And that includes producing food right here on the campus and having animals on the campus as well. We want to know where our food comes from. We want it to be seasonal and local, so we don't eat imported products. We want it to be organic wherever we can get it, and we want it to be ethically produced, which means normally we don't have meat on the menu at Green School, just because of the production systems here and the lack of sort of options that we have in that space. So all of those things are taken into account. We also don't want food coming in single-use plastic packaging. So we have some principles, and then within that we can be as creative as we try to be. Next year, I think middle school are actually going to be running one of the cafes on the campus, which is exciting.
Yes, I've done a trial run of that and it seemed to work.
It did. The trial run was very successful.
Yeah, the green warung by the middle school students.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they have a very, very well-established seed-to-table program in middle school, which will sort of feed into the running of this little cafe.
Yeah, it's definitely not your normal school cafeteria lunch. No. But as Kate said, I think it's important that, you know, when we're a community of learners making our world sustainable, you know, a big part of that is, you know, you are what you eat. And that comes out into the ways that we live and not just learn here. But food is important.
We're also obviously inspired by the cuisine of Indonesia and Bali specifically. And so at the moment our lunch comes in a little package, a banana leaf, wrapped in a banana leaf. So the packaging is completely compostable. And the food at the moment is mainly sort of a pasta or a rice-based dish with protein, with vegetables in there. Super tasty.
Yeah. I still have to pack the lunch for my kids.
Okay. Okay, here's the question. Sal, maybe I'll ask you this one. So just asking about admissions for a child who perhaps has ADHD or a specific, I guess, student support need.
Yeah, you know, we're definitely an inclusive school in our admissions process. I mean, there's no right and wrong answer to any individual that I suppose, regardless of learning support need or not. I think we'd like to think that our admissions process and the way that our heads get to know applicants is really holistic. It is let's be honest, this isn't all about just greenwashing the whole show. This is a pretty unique campus and it isn't for everyone. We've seen a lot of students come in with some sort of extra need and they've flourished and it's been the perfect place for them. We've seen conversely students that have come in with some needs that we haven't been able to cater for, that the learning environment wasn't conducive for them in a positive way. There's learning support and student support in all of our different learning neighbourhoods, and it looks different for the different age groups. And really, sort of that question on its own, it's really difficult to answer in a general way. It does depend on the age, where a student's coming from, what school system they're coming from, how successful, how much they've liked school, what is the specific needs. We're definitely an inclusive school who want to and see the benefit of having a real eclectic variety of learners in our community.
I think the enrolment process itself, you know, for each and every family and every child is so important because it really is an exercise of finding, you know, best fit for the families and for the school. So the more we can get to know each other through that process, the better. So we encourage applicant families to really engage not just in the online application process, but in the events that we organise as well, where we can have conversations or to have an interview with the relevant learning neighbourhood head or with our admissions team as well. The more we get to know each other, the more likely we find a successful match there. So I think that's really important. Yeah. And that all of that is shared with us. So, you know, to encourage families, don't be afraid to share with us information about their child, because that's when we're going to find the best decision and the best match.
Let's be honest, it's a place with like a information sensory overload as well. You know, it's not
Very
a typical,
stimulating
very
environment.
stimulating environment.
Yes.
That's what we say.
Yes,
yeah.
it is that. Yes, for sure. Okay,
Yeah.
so a more practical question right here. What time does school start and what time does it end? Quick answer.
Well, for teenagers, 8:15 to 3:15
Yeah.
is kind of the basic time there. I think that we aim for across neighbourhoods, same time. But yeah, 8:15 to 3:15. That might fluctuate depending. I'm just thinking we've got some students doing some marine biology trips, and so they're arriving at 7:30. It's happening in the teenager realm over there. So sometimes depending on what learning's happening, there might be some changes, but our school day is 8:15 to 3:15.
Goes to show how amazing those courses are, Harriet, that the teenagers are getting out of bed and turning up on time to start at 7:30.
I know.
I think that really speaks volumes.
Yeah, in normal times, so like school would finish at 3:15, and there'd be pick up and everything, but very rarely is the place empty at before 5 o'clock, really. And sometimes on special days, on our farmers market Fridays and assemblies, you know, there's a real vibe of excitement and community with up to 1,000 people on the campus. Listening to live music or just hanging out and picnicking and things like that around the farmers market. So it's not your typical school campus and it's not a typical school day. But yeah, those classes, the normal 8 to 3 sort of thing, sort of works for us. But it does start earlier and end later a lot of the time too.
And oftentimes, unlike most schools around the world, oftentimes getting kids out of green school is much more difficult than getting them in. Speaking personally as a parent.
That is very true.
And
that is very true.
You got 3 and you find one and then the other 2 disappear. Yeah.
That's it. I see Leanne nodding as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's great that my kids want to be here at their school, and they actually, you know, apart from the middle schooler who doesn't want to do anything right now, you know, they actually look forward to coming to school on the weekends. They're talking about going to school on a Monday, and in the school holidays they're talking about, you know, when's the school holidays over because I want to go back to school. And I'm also saying the same thing.
Yeah. My high schooler is working on a bamboo bike making course at the moment, and he did actually come to school on Saturday. Yes, because he wanted to keep going on his project. So there you go, Harriet. That's I was complaining. Do I have to drive you to school on Saturday? Oh my gosh.
There might be a question in here later, but there's also, we have sports competitions that we play with other schools. So that extends the day as well. We have an amazing after-school activity program normally that allows students across different learning neighbourhoods and to connect with local students in Shibung, our local area here. You know, that means you could come to school, be here at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then have a sports training one afternoon, and then you go away to another school to play inter-school sports, either volleyball, soccer, basketball, cross-country running, swimming, athletics. I think that's the lot,
well,
isn't
that's
it?
A nice
Volleyball.
That's a nice little segue to the next question, Sal.
Yeah, we're probably not like the Ivy League sports prep school, but sporting is being active and having an understanding of developing and growing in a physical well-being sense is really important to us and really important in terms of sustainability education.
A bit more of a holistic approach.
Probably a little bit more of a holistic approach. Well, although we're not like the probably top sports school on the island, it's pretty hard to beat us in cross country when everyone else has to run around our jungle.
Well, we actually have a pretty fit group of children, and I think just moving across this campus every day does keep them in pretty good shape. But I don't know, Thabo and Harriet, if you want to expand a little bit on what sport looks like, or maybe you want to broaden that out to sort of well-being more generally in the sort of lower school and upper school.
Yeah, I'm just thinking even just at the moment, I know in grades in grade 9 and grade 10, I think. There's a class that's social studies and sports. They're reading a book called Legacy about the All Blacks in New Zealand and kind of how they really adjusted their approach to rugby and actually they're in health, and it created that when they won the World Cup, etc., etc. But during that class they're reading and then they're also doing sport, like group sport at the same time, and reflecting on that. So they're often playing, they played an hour and a half of volleyball, and then I think the teacher said that they didn't want to stop, so they went over to the field and then played dodgeball for another hour. So it's not just that we have a certain time, it can also come about in other areas, but we have a community sport aspect in high school that we run, and it's a range of things from yoga to wild fitness, which is the muddy one, to volleyball. The grade 11s are a serious volleyball competition right now, and also we have basketball and football and those different things. It's always interesting. We went on a trip once and the students were like, let's take volleyball, we're going to teach the local island how to play volleyball. They destroyed us. Papuans are amazing at volleyball, and it turns out we were not quite on the same level, but even from a personal experience, I've loved, since I've been here coaching the primary sport, I've always coached football and basketball when we had the inter-school sport competition, and it's just the best. It's so lovely to do that, and it's one of those things where they get to train every week and then also go meet other schools and play as well. And in high school it's a bit different. They have one big competition, and last year I'm going to say we won the football, you know, and we've held on to it because it hasn't run this year, so I'm going to say we've won it for 2 years.
2 years in a row.
we've kept the title for the last 2 years.
That. Yes, why not?
We'll take that one. But I think Sal's kind of missing something. We always win the running because we have it here. So when they come and they're used to AC and like lawns that are well lined, all these different things, they're running in our local community round in a jungle run as well, so it does give us the upper hand. They're well versed for that.
We have an advantage in that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, and also the toilets, that's the other thing. They love to come. When they come, he's like, oh, these are different to what we're used to, and I'm sure that'll be a question maybe later on.
Yeah, where's the toilet question?
Well, I did cover it in the tour.
Oh yeah, okay.
Lightly.
Yeah.
Yes, not in depth.
Let's not go
in detail. Thabo, do you want to, I'm just seeing there are a lot more questions coming in, so do you want to have a quick response to that question about sport too in the lower school, thinking about the younger children?
In the lower school, like Harriet and Sal have said, we do have the opportunity for kids to access more competitive sports, or some competitive sports with the inter-school events. The way that we approach it in our programs is much more in terms of physical well-being rather than traditional PE classes or traditional sports classes. So that's very much about encouraging students to be active, encouraging students to understand how to look after their bodies, how to keep their bodies healthy and safe, and all of those elements. So that'll take place in so many different places around our campus, just getting kids active regularly and constantly. It'll incorporate things like yoga and mindfulness as well. But if you walked into one of our PW classes on any given day, you might see kids doing an obstacle course through a jungle setting. You might see children with bamboo poles and equipment doing kind of flexibility exercises and those sort of things that look a little bit like capoeira classes, things like that. Or you might see children having some time sitting underneath a coconut tree, having a moment to themselves, kind of being a little bit self-reflective and looking inwards at themselves and understanding how they are and how they're feeling and how they're actually how they're doing in themselves, how they're being at the moment. So it's very much a rounded well-being program, and we call it that for a very deliberate reason. But we do also have the access to, if you want to go and score a goal and celebrate like you're Cristiano Ronaldo, then you can go and do that too.
Well, and I did show our friends on the tour the gym, our amazing gymnasium that is honestly, it must be the most beautiful gymnasium in the world. So it really is stunning. So we're bringing that to life right now. That's brand new. Yes. So getting our sport on in there. Okay, so a couple of other questions here, which are really, again, a little bit admissions-ish in nature. So when a child maybe is coming from homeschool or any other school system, of course, curriculums vary across school systems, and so children inevitably may be a little ahead in some things, a little behind in some things. So just a question about how the school responds to that if a student comes in and perhaps is a little behind in some particular areas.
So in the primary school, just starting off, and then Harriet can pick it up. Talking from the primary school and the early years, one of the things that's incredibly important to me and to us as a school is actually that we see all of our individual students and our individual learners where they are. And one of the things that we're blessed with is that we have students who come from so many different systems around the world. We do have expectations that children work towards, and we have programs that children work towards, but we try and stay away as much as we can from those references to above or behind, to in front of or delayed behind grade level experiences, because children learn as they learn, and our teachers work incredibly hard to support students from wherever they are to progress at their point in their learning journey, whether it's in a proficiency, whether it's in a maths exploration, or whether it's in their understanding of a skill and in their development of our green school skills. Our teachers very much concentrate, and we as a school concentrate on supporting kids to move from where they are.
And I think for that to happen, going back to that enrollment process and really getting to deeply understand the applicant family and the child and where they're at, and to make sure that we can provide support.
Completely, and it's also a conversation with parents when you're here in terms of the fact that sometimes, because our program is very broad and because we do hold so tightly onto the importance of social emotional learning, of learning to take risks, of learning through the green school skills and understanding the I respect values, that the way that your child is learning and the way that a student is learning might look and feel very different. And that's a conversation that we love to have with families all the time, to help us kind of understand families and students, but also to help people understand how we're approaching things, and that it might look different or it might sound different, but there's incredible amounts of learning happening all of the time when you're here.
And Thabo, that's actually raises a good point, which is something we haven't talked about, which might be good just to cover in a very nutshell kind of way, which is that we have our own curriculum at Green School, and so that's actually an important thing to share. Sal, do you want to say a few words on that?
There's a lot of people who probably think there is no curriculum here, but it's a highly documented curriculum.
Or that it's an Indonesian curriculum, or that it's an IB
I'd
curriculum.
Say the best way to describe it would be to think of world's best practice in terms of structured learning outcomes, but a redesign around a learning program, the pedagogical belief and the curriculum that provides opportunities for students not just to learn knowledge and information for an exam, but to learn important global information, but also to be able to upskill in life skills and to be able to demonstrate experience values as part of that. And so our curriculum is highly documented. It's evolving. I'd say we've probably got a 70-30
call it
evolving,
a living curriculum.
Yeah, so there is a structured part of the curriculum that flows through year to year, but there's also, it evolves in terms of different teachers and different things that are happening in the world as well. But our curriculum has got normal, just like any world curriculum's got a set of learning outcomes, scope and sequence. It has a yearly plan across different grades. It's got vertical and horizontal alignment across different learning neighbourhoods and across different grades. Very structured, lots of information, and it's something that we're really proud of here, to say that Green School Bali has developed its own curriculum, and that curriculum is relevant to the real world.
Yeah. Thanks for that. So, Harriet, I want to come to you next, a question about languages and what we teach. So the question here about our Bahasa Indonesia program in the school, and also whether we teach some other languages in Green School.
Yeah, great. So for Bahasa Indonesia, in all learning neighbourhoods, we engage with that language because we live in the, in the country that speaks Bahasa Indonesian. So it's really important to us to support our learners and our teachers in accessing that, and also in terms of being able to respect our local community. In high school, just to speak on that specifically, we have different levels of Bahasa, ranging from obviously the foundation to the more advanced level, and in the last couple of years starting to introduce Balinese as well for some of our students that want to learn Balinese. So that's one language stream that we have and that students can access. And in addition to that, we have something called Language Lab, which is run by Peck Francis, which is an incredible learning space for a range of languages. So you could have students that are learning Mandarin, Russian, Spanish, French, Italian, and they learn together, as weird as that sounds, but they learn to become learners of languages, which I think is such a vital skill. So they set their own goals and programs with our teacher and share resources, and they develop a 6-week plan normally in which they meet their goals. Often they're put in little groups depending on the language they're learning, and they set themselves goals as a group as well, and they come together to share both either through analysing film or from reading text or from actually just having a conversation together and seeing how they're progressing with that language. We also have had a year-long programme of French in the past and looking at involving French and Spanish. So in high school, that's kind of where we are with languages at the moment. This year's been really incredible. Language Lab actually throughout the year has been one of the biggest student choices, and again it's amazing the different languages they're learning.
Thanks, Harriet. And I think right across the school, middle, primary and early years too, Bahasa Indonesia is in there, and I think it's, there's the overall objective with some of that, Thabo, correct me if I'm wrong, is just, to help all our community members get up to speed with enough language where we can make connections, we can make friendships, we can show respect, and we can learn from our Balinese and Indonesian co-students and teachers and people in our community, the neighbourhoods and wherever we live on this beautiful island as well.
Completely, and in the primary school and in early years, we really do approach the Indonesian studies, the Indonesian side of our program as a little bit of a language program, but very much also a culture program. So we're learning about the different islands in Indonesia, the different cultures and groups in Indonesia. We're learning about the flora and fauna of Indonesia, ceremonies, religions, those sort of things, alongside an introduction to the language, just completely as Harriet said, about respecting and honouring our place in the world here, and allowing our students and our community to feel connected to where we are through the language, and also through understanding a little bit about life in all of the different islands in Indonesia.
In terms of Green School Bali providing structured learning programs for alternative languages, it's quite difficult because right now there's 52 different nationalities in the school, so what extra languages do we teach? And it's also a legal requirement, being a school in Indonesia, that we have structured in Bahasa Indonesian classes. And like Kate said, I think if we call ourselves a community of learners and we're not in an international bubble here, the best and only way to start a connection with our local community is learning the local language. It's very important.
It is very important.
And it's beautiful too. It opens, it changes your life here. Probably people come to Green School for the buildings, stay for the teachers, but their whole world and their whole life is changed by being a part of this amazing Balinese Indonesian community, and having some language skills in Bahasa Indonesian is really important for that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. So a couple of good questions here from Vivi that I wanted to answer, which is, what is the average length of time students attend the school? So I'll give you a couple of numbers to work with. So year on year, about 80% of our community would continue from one year to the next. So that always means we can open up spaces for new families to join us, to replace families whose time has come to leave. We have a good core of families that will go right through the school to graduation with their child, and then we have other families who might come for 2 years or 3 years. 1 year is the minimum amount of time that a family can enrol for at Green School, so that's 2 semesters, and there is usually we take new students in August and then in January, so the beginning of both semesters we have an intake of new families. Most start in the August, which is semester 1. Early years is the only part of the school where you can enrol for less than 1 year, a less than 1 year commitment.
And our high school diploma is a 2-year
Correct.
commitment.
So grade 11 and 12,
Grade
Harriet,
11 and
that's
12.
a 2-year
That's a
program.
2-year, but it's amazing how many come in grade 10 for 1 year and end up graduating with us.
How long did you come for, Kate?
Yeah, we came for 1 year.
1 year. That was how many years ago?
That was 10 years
10 years ago.
Yeah.
That
Quite
sort
a
of
common
story
Green
is very
School.
common.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very true. And then in terms of the number of children that we have in the school and looking towards next year, we have about 100 or so in high school and middle school, a few more in primary school, maybe up to 115, something like that, and around 60 in early years. So primary, middle and high, 100 to 120 kind of range ordinarily, and then early years is a smaller program, maybe around 60 children in the early years program.
We'll probably get near 400 next year, hopefully at some stage. Yeah. We've had a school of 535, I think was as big as we've had. And COVID sort of scaled that back a little bit. So it's actually nice coming to a bit of a smaller community. Yeah.
It is. So we are growing, but we want to do that iteratively, carefully and thoughtfully, because we are a community and we don't just sort of open the gates and just have hundreds come in at once. So it is going to be a carefully curated growth process from here, I think, heading back up towards that kind of number over time. So then Jamila actually has asked question 2, which is relevant to all of this, which is, what is the evaluation criteria to admit students and what is prioritised? So I can tell you for children in primary school and early years, it's very much about the parents and what the parents are looking for their child's education. I think it'd be fair to say. I know, Thabo, you have, reviewed, I don't know how many...
Hundreds and hundreds of
applications over the years, and maybe you want to add to that in terms of what you're looking for.
I think the piece that Sal said earlier about being an inclusive school is really important. We do look to and we're excited about having applications from a broad range of places and school backgrounds. The biggest key for me, and it's always difficult to talk in generalizations because every case is different and every family is different, but as Kate said, with the younger learners, really the family and the family's priorities are hugely important, because the success of our younger learners here at school is so dependent on the success of the family when they come in and become part of the Green School community. So if as a family it's obvious that you're aligned with our values and that we can see where your priorities are in terms of your children's educations, that's really helpful for us and a real key for us in terms of our applications.
There's a lot of information that we offer to families, so these sorts of sessions as well as all of the information on the website, and we really do encourage and actually expect applicant families to spend some time on that site and to have a look at that content there. Follow us on social media. That's a great way to actually see in action what's going on in the school as well, and ask those questions. It's very easy to just read into something what you want to see, I suppose, and we really encourage our families to kind of go through that process of due diligence almost to see how what we do lines up with what they actually want for their child, because that's when we get the best fit, and that's when we can really work with parents as partners in their child's education.
Completely, and I think as a parent, going through the process of considering coming to Green School Bali, I think being really clear in your own minds and in your own hearts about what you want from the school, what your priorities are for your children, and what you hope Green School will be before and while you're going through that application process is really important, and sharing that with the admissions team and through the application process, so that we can work together to make sure that it is the right place and that
I think being open about all of that and sharing as much as you can about your child, because Sal mentioned earlier, Green School is not for everyone, and that is the truth. It's not for every learner. So, we do want to get that match, and we do want to make sure, because we feel a great sense of responsibilities when a family comes to us and moves across the globe, that, there's going to be a great chance that their child is going to thrive here. So I think that openness through the process is important. And then maybe if we could hear a few words from you, Harriet, too, because I know in the high school you are looking for a particular type of learner, and they need to be quite independent.
Yeah, I think independence is a really good word. And a young person that is has initiative or is up for learning about how to use their initiative is really important, because I was talking to a grade 11 student. I asked him what his aim was for his senior year, and his reply was incredible. It says to say yes to all the opportunities that are here, and he kind of reflected on the fact that he'd become he was saying no too often, or he kind of wasn't seeing it as an opportunity, where he kind of suddenly realised, like, I've got to make the most out of this. So for a young person to come who has been in a school where you get told, like, this is important to you just because, we are aware that transition can be quite challenging, actually, to then come to a school that you've got choice and your voice is valued, but also that you're having to say yes and put your hand up for some opportunities, is really important to know when you're applying. And what's really useful for high school is the videos. I actually love, I always reference them when I meet them. I'm like, oh, I loved your video that you talked about this and this. But also it's a good point to actually have advising meetings with young people, because you can say, like, oh, in your video you said that you were really into, for example, you were really interested in using the iHub or in innovation in plastic. Have you had that experience yet? Have you sought that out? What's kind of challenging that for you? So I think it's just really, when doing the application, is talking with your child, or if you are the child, the young person, is like, what is it, why is it that I'm applying to this school? What is it that is different from where I am now, that I kind of want to say yes to that opportunity, perhaps, but also knowing, like, with that integrity of, this is the learner that I'm looking to be in the next place. And for parents, I think it's important to know that, as mentioned earlier, we're not an IB school. And also to do with university placement, it's really important to think about what your options are post high school and how Green School applies to that and what questions you have. And asking those questions early on are really important in the process, so we can be clear with the programme that we offer and what opportunities come next. And we've got, you know, an incredible alumni that help us curate that information to share that with you. So I think asking questions early on for the high school application is really important.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you, Harriet. And there are actual criteria that are on the website. I'm not sure exactly where off the top of my head, but I know they are in the enrolment policy document. There is some actual criteria there, so you can go and have a look at those. Thanks so much for that question. That's an excellent one. Sal, here's a good question. Maybe you'd like to lead with this one. Is there homework for middle school and high school?
Yeah, we definitely don't do homework just for homework's sake. I'd say in middle school the homework strategy is more around completing classwork that you've been doing during the day or working on additional projects. But we don't, there's no like homework policy across middle school, for example, that says you'll get 2 hours of homework every day. It's homework with a purpose, basically. And I even remember just teaching maths in middle school as an example, where I'd like to set a little bit of homework every day, but it was short and sweet, and to the point of just trying to access that memory experience that students had when they were in my classrooms. And I liked to think that their learning was enhanced by just reactivating those neuronal connections that they had first fired during the day at some other stage. So yes, there is homework, but I don't think it's like structured like other traditional schools. And across primary, I don't think there's a lot of homework going on, but it's projects and probably stuff that kids want to take home and do themselves.
Yeah, we do have homework in the primary school. It's homework for you as parents, and it's homework for you as parents to enjoy where you are with your kids and with your family. Yeah, we don't set homework in the primary school or early as we don't send homework home. Children might occasionally bring things home to finish off or to complete, and often that comes from their own desire and their own passion to do that. We're in one of the most incredible places in the world, and we have so many opportunities for our families and our kids here that we want to make sure people are taking advantage of, and we want our families, we want our kids to be able to have that time to explore those things and that time to connect as families, which for so many of us in other places we don't get the chance to do. And we're really fortunate here in Bali with lots of our families that when you do manage to finally pull the children out of the gate and get them into the car, that you can have that time to connect together. And that's for a young learner, that's incredibly important. So that's kind of
really
homework
beautiful.
for you.
That's beautiful, Thabo. Really beautiful. Harriet, do you want to?
Yeah, in high school, I think, I like that Sal said homework with purpose, but I think it's also linked to their pathways. So, you know, homework for a high school student might be running a community thrift store in the car park. It might be rehearsing for a performance for one of our awareness days. It might be actually collaborating with different members of our community to put on something or share with a newsletter or these different things. So homework is often an activated aspect of their learning. But we also do know that for some of their pathways, whether that's, for example, I'll say an advanced maths, that really to reach that advanced level is some extra work and some extra commitment. So that's really important to us, that we don't minimise the students' capacity as well, that in fact, that they really flourish with their ability in certain subjects, and sometimes that can be an extension of their work elsewhere.
That actually takes us to a very relevant question from Thea, which is around our alumni, our graduates, and where they go and what support the school has in place for students as they get ready to leave Green School, graduate from grade 12.
I love that. I just had a video from a student he graduated last year actually, and he was in BC planting trees. He gets paid, I can't remember what the pay was, like $0.something per tree, but he's loving it. He plants 300 trees an hour. He told me that last week he planted 1,045 in a day, and that's his record. So that's one example of our alumni. But there's many more examples, and I think that's, we want to showcase that when we think about post-high school, it's not just one route, and it can go in so many different areas, whether that's into internships, whether it's into employment, or whether it is into university pathways as well. And throughout the year, we have a range of transition days. And this year, actually, it's been one of the a highlight of COVID. Yes. Are you allowed to say that?
Yes.
Is that we've been able to connect with so many more international partners of Green School and connections, and run these days that they've got access to alumni. The Alumni Day was a big hit, but also to experts in fields or university fairs. We had a university fair with 140 different universities attending and offering. To begin with, we thought it'd be just these workshops, but they actually ran one-on-one meetings with students, which was an incredible experience for them to have that as well. So we have a range of focuses and support for students in moving forward, and next year we're really excited to be welcoming a full-time pathways coordinator who'll be working on that and looking at both college application, university applications, as well as looking at who students are and actually asking those questions. She had this lovely analogy about you need to know all the ingredients that go into a cake to make a good cake. And asking students, like, what are their ingredients, and finding spaces for them to do that. And that is supported through internship programs, but also mentoring. And like I said, those access to transition days where they get to see, like, oh, that's an opportunity. So I know I'm talking a lot right now. When we think about our grade 12 class that are graduating in 3 weeks, we have students that are going to universities in America, the UK, Italy, I think that's the ones I can think of right now. Indonesia, of course, Indonesia. And then also we have students going to work in Hawaii on a farm. We have students doing internships and sustainability projects. We have students that are interning at school, I believe. So we have different spaces which our students move on to, and it's really important to keep that information and to keep track of what's going on.
Yeah. Yes, it's a moving feast. We're a young school, and our high school is quite young, but we're so proud of all our graduates so far. I think we've had eight graduating years, classes. So, but it's just amazing to track those students and see where they are in the world. So thanks, Harriet. I know you're very, very passionate about all of that and very top of mind as we're just a few weeks away from graduation from the 2021 graduating class. Sal, I have a question for you, which is on the arts, and I think this is particularly about visual arts, but maybe you want to talk about arts a little bit more broadly. The question's about visual arts in middle school from Stacey, but you might want to address that a little more broadly.
I'll take the opportunity then in the middle school just to talk about the middle school a little bit. So part of their program, about a third to a half of their program is elective based, and so our middle schoolers will go through a term and have 8 to 10 different art-based learning options to choose from, as well as project-based learning on Jalan Jalan days. Jalan Jalan means getting out and about, and also 8 to 10 different PW, physical wellbeing classes. So in terms of opportunities to grow and to learn in the world of the arts, as middle school students, specifically in middle school, we open up the opportunity for them to choose different modes of learning. So they might take a visual arts class, which could be really structured and sort of normal, drawing and painting and things like that, or the next term they might choose a film studies class and make some films. They also might do a theatre art class. We try to integrate art into gardening. They could be making murals, they could be in the iHub. So in our innovation hub, making
they could be
really
making
cool
a bamboo
art.
bicycle.
They could be making a bamboo bicycle.
Which is actually, I think, a science class.
Yeah, specifically in middle school, we want our students to experience different types of learning and different types of experiences. So rather than sort of grade 6, let's say grade 6 just doesn't go off to art class and do painting for a term, while grade 7 goes to art class and does drawing for a term. You get the choice and you get to develop different artistic skills. Visual arts is really important to us as a school. It's important to us. I mean, we're doing a Green School International, so there's students, parents, artists across Green School New Zealand, South Africa and here in Bali, that we're using art as a way to activate in terms of our Mother Earth Day. Mother Earth Day competition.
Faces of Mother Earth.
Faces of Mother Earth.
Launched on Earth Day.
The campus is also, a very artistic sort of place, and you can see art all around us here. But it's important for students to connect with art, to learn with art, to experience who they are. And, I'm as an adult still learning who I am through art, but also to use that art, like a lot of our other learning experiences, to use that art to do something with now, to activate, to use your art, whether it's for activism or to tell a story or to communicate and to connect. So it's pretty holistic, our art program here.
I think that whole nurturing of the creative self, which can look so many different ways.
Yeah.
My son, who's working on the bamboo bicycle, he's not actually particularly passionate about visual arts, other forms of visual arts, but has so enjoyed all those more practical arts kind of experiences that are offered here. I don't know if you want to share a perspective on the arts.
Well, I got turned off art when I was at school because I was made to go and do a drawing class. I never really liked it, or made to do a pottery class, and I just never liked going to art classes. But I know our students here, when you give them a choice, in terms of student-centred learning, they are able to connect in some way, whether it's through a practical art, a visual, music, a theatre. I think there's an artist in us all, and by providing opportunities for students to experience and connect in an artistic way is a really important part of Green School Bali.
Yeah, and seeing the Balinese culture come through the arts too, particularly in the lower school, is a beautiful thing. But Harriet?
No, I was going to say, in high school it's a real pathway for our students. This year more than ever we've got a whole group of students applying to art school in Europe, the US and the UK. And they just have found that space that's allowed them to understand who they are as an artist. And looking at their portfolios, which is something we work with our high schoolers on, they're incredible. They're so creative. And I was looking at a student, I had no idea he was an artist, and he's a potter. Like, he makes cups and Heiko.
Really?
Exactly.
There is an artist in us all.
There is an artist in everyone, and I think a lot of that is that often asking to be to approach something with a creative mindset is really important, and it allows them not to just think, okay, like, I'm not good at it because I haven't got this grade in art. They're finding ways to apply art to their understanding of the world, and that's really beautiful.
Yeah, I think the other part that's really important from a lower school perspective is that the arts are an incredible opportunity for us that we use to connect with where we are. So in the primary school, the early years, arts and art classes, visual art classes might involve, like I said earlier, students getting coconut leaves and creating weavings. We had a really fun session a few months ago where students were making balls to play soccer with, actually to play golf with, but they ended up playing soccer with them, out of coconut leaves and weaving these little balls together. And those practical arts are so much part of our place here where we are in Bali, and that comes through in our visual arts classes and our music classes as well, which in our music classes in the primary school are very heavily influenced by Indonesian music. So children learning to play gamelan, children learning to play jagog and things like that are all of these beautiful traditional Indonesian instruments that are just another way for kids to explore their creativity, but also to connect with where we are here in Bali.
And Stacey, if you want to see some of that art in real life, you follow us on social media. I think particularly on our Instagram account, we are going to be sharing our Faces of Mother Earth art community art challenge I think, Sal, you've got
That's
a piece
the one.
in that. You've
Yeah.
submitted a piece,
everyone's
haven't you?
an artist. I think
Everyone's
art
an artist.
is definitely a way that
Yeah.
connects us, but also provides opportunities for a lot of skill-based learning, a lot of values-based learning opportunities. When you think of it being able to adapt and think creatively and communicate, collaborate, art sort of allows us to access those learning opportunities.
Yeah, and whether we're participating in it or we're just bearing witness to it, it brings us joy.
And even with I think it's been really beautiful with the Faces of Mother Earth challenge, is that we've got 3 high schoolers interning, helping to organise that event, and they are just loving it. And I'm not sure, they keep showing me their artwork, and I'm like, well, I'm not sure if that's the internship. Where's it? But actually curating and putting the gallery together, both virtually and in person gallery. But they that community aspect of art that it brings about is amazing.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I think we could sit here all day. There's a lot of passion in this particular lineup here, but right across the school with all the educators and the staff right across Green School Bali. So I do want to say thanks so much to Sal, to Thabo, to Harriet, to Leanne, and to the crew here for putting together this event for today, but especially to you at home, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for giving us some time this morning. I think we answered almost all of the questions that you sent, but we may have missed one or two, and I do apologise for that.